Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 11 here in Farm to Table. Hit the end of the road almost. Way to go. First and foremost, let's have a quick few announcements, which are very important in the sense that, hey, reminder, makeups, get those in. We wanted them in yesterday. Let's go. Push, push, push. All right. The sooner you knock those out, the sooner you're going to feel better about week 11 and week 12. Remember, because week 12 is going to come up, going to be due on Sunday. All right, so that week 11, we're going to wrap up, and then week 12 rolls around, and it's an early due date. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, I think that's about it regarding those technicalities. Just let's get on it. Let's finish strong. If you've gotten a B, you've got a C, you've got an A, you want to keep that and improve, right? There's still the chance, knock out hundreds in the week 11 and 12, push yourself, knock out any makeup assignment that you're already missing, push yourself again, strive for that higher grade. There is extra credit, like always, at the end of course survey that'll be open in week 12 that I'll remind you of as well. If anybody did notice, there have been some slight changes to the week 11 and week 12. Hopefully, if you have not already made them, great. If you have, then just please reach out to me directly and we can work something out. So yeah, there's that. Anyways, we're going to get into all of that. There's a few more photos that are required in week 12 of actually the executing of the dish, but fewer dishes to actually make and different requirements. As well as this week, if anybody has already made week 11 already ahead of time and did not add the compound butter components for those photos, that is okay. Please just reach out directly if I have not contacted you already, or Chef Greg, and we're fine. Otherwise, we're gonna rock and roll. We're gonna have a lot to talk about, and want to hear from you all. Any comments, questions, observations from the week 10 confit?
I loved it, chefs. Actually, it turned out great.
Awesome.
I typically don't eat a lot of heavy deep fried foods because it upsets my digestive system. So I was pleasantly, surprised at how it turned out. It wasn't overly greasy, actually, and I really enjoyed it. And a matter of fact, to do part of my makeup for week 1, I used my potatoes and fried them up a little bit, just to kind of give a little crisp to them, along with my chimichurri sauce with with roasted chicken for like my makeup sauce. So,
gotcha. Yeah. When you cook things low and slow, especially in this manner, your chicken is not going to absorb as much grease as sometimes we would think when you're submerging and cooking something in oil. At the lower temperatures, it just doesn't get grease locked, which is great. See Andy saying it's a great meal. Awesome. Happy to hear that. Chef Greg, any observations or comments that you would like to share with the class at large?
There was a ton of good work this week. A couple people did duck. A couple people did some assortments of chickens, which was good. Everybody kept to the on-bone chicken pieces. One thing, we had everybody save your fats, one part from your chicken and one part from your potatoes. Just remember now, you can use that for anything. We use oil a ton in cooking every single day. Whether we're just searing something, we're making a marinade, a dressing, a recipe. So you have a ton of great flavor now. You can make mayonnaise out of the chicken fat and make chicken salad with it if you have extra chicken legs. You could use the your garlic oil and make garlic bread with it. It's really endless because there's just so much that we use cooking oil for while we're cooking.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. And you have a pre-infused fat with flavor, added flavor. Cool. Chicken confit was a hit with family. One didn't like stomach, tender fell off the bone. Okay. Awesome. Good. Sounds like people had some good end results and people enjoyed, which is all a part of it. Awesome. Okay, great. So let us move on to week 10, unless anybody else has any questions. One thing I just want to drive home, which is reading those instructions and that recipe thoroughly, right? No matter what. Double, when I cook something, and I'm sure Chef Greg as well, for the first time, we're reading through that recipe, not once, unless it's something very simple and we might be familiar with it. But even then, we're going to read through it a second, maybe a third time, maybe jot down some order of operation, action points of that, right? What's that order? You got to be sure that you're reading all the way through to the end. If you start a recipe and you kind of are just working through that recipe as you cook, you're going to miss out on a lot of important stuff, right? Got to read through that entire recipe. Double check that you're all the way on it. But otherwise, class, everybody has been doing a fantastic job. We hope that everybody's been enjoying the extra part of the class, which is not just about cooking, but the reasons, the why, the how, the sustainability aspects. This class is a lot, but it really takes us back to our basics, which is what we're going to be doing this week with Dairy Week. So, dairy, the world loves it, right? Whether it's in milk form, cheese form, yogurt, curdle, many other ways, right? Kefir, in desserts, used to make desserts, right? Used to spread on butter. Very, very basic, right? And we all know if you've got a cow, right, and you're milking it, okay, what do you do when you have too much milk and you're not going to eat it all, right? You need to turn that into a secondary product, okay? Or a tertiary, third, fourth, fifth product. Sometimes there's just too much milk. If you've got a bunch of dairy cows, right, you need to be able to utilize that. So, who has ever had heard of that old saying like a butter churner, right? When you churn your butter. Anybody remember those old poems, right, about churning butter? Yeah. All right. So, butter. We are going to be taking cream. What is cream? What do we know cream is? What is cream? Why is cream different than milk? Start there. Fat. Exactly. All right. Great. So fat content, first of all, right? Cream is heavier in fat content. You got it. So it's thicker. Yeah, great observations. Perfect. Okay. So if we want to take that fat away, right, from that cream, right, separate it, transform it using physical, right? We're not adding necessarily, it's all physical, right? We're agitating that. We're going to separate the particles, right? The fat particles, all right? You've got some protein in there, right? Milk protein is going to be in there, all right? Okay, lactose, right? So when you take cream and you beat it, you're going to separate it into two parts. You're going to get butter, okay? That's what we're going to be doing this week, which is pretty awesome, to take a product that you can buy and transform it. Now, what do we also know about quality of products, okay? Flavor. If we just have a regular old, generic milk, cream, right? Generic milk cream, we're going to be able to separate fat and get butter, and the flavor is going to be okay, right? But what do we know about how, remember this class is all about sustainability, and we've talked about lots of different ways of raising cattle and chickens and animals, right? So let's think about grass-fed beef versus beef that's been fed predominantly a diet of corn and soil and has not done a lot of outdoors grazing on wild herbs, clover, the things that grow naturally and that cows would normally eat. What do we think is going to be different about those two? A cow that's been out, their milk, all right? A cow that's been out roaming in the fields, eating grass, versus a cow that's standing kind of not maybe moving out that around that much and just eating this bulk concept. Less flavor, yes, exactly. All right. So if you've got the budget, highly suggest seeking out a higher quality cream source for this assignment. You're going to get really wildly different results. However, regular old cream from the grocery store, you're also going to have amazing results. You're never going to think, whoa, what about that good butter though? Because you're making it fresh. It's not butter that's been sitting in a package that was made at a factory that's been sitting on in the refrigerator grocery store for how long, right? You're going to find out what fresh butter tastes like in either way. All right. So let's take a quick look at the recipe and the instructions, because we are taking this butter and we're going to transform it. Who's ever heard of compound butter? Has anybody ever heard of a compound butter? No? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Oh, okay. Tell me, what do you know about that? Or have you ever made it?
Compound butter is when you add a flavor to it and
Bingo.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Exactly. It's
You
when
make
you're
it like an actual sauce, like when you add herbs or either strawberries, or you can add different things to it and make it compound butter. Put it in the refrigerator and make it solid.
awesome, Cassandra. Yeah, that is exactly right. So compound butters can range from savory to sweet. Okay. It is an old school, wonderful technique. And making your butter and making compound butter of this is going to be unreal. I want to give you guys a visual for those of you who have not maybe heard of compound butter. Here's a visual. These are mostly savory. And the classic one is the beurre maitre d', right? The maitre d', right? The special butter from the maitre d'. Remember, because maitre d' in French restaurants was the equivalent of the chef in the back of the house back in the day. Okay, that's literally, the maitre d' was that person, that front of the house. All right. Did I stop share? Did I share the right one? I think so. All right, there we go. This is what savory compound butters can look like. As you can see, we've got herbs. I think this one might have Old Bay in it, but it might just be a roasted pepper or smoked paprika, and who knows, right? Lots of different colors going on there. You could add curry. Do you see the flavor, the color ranges? Now, what's beautiful and miraculous about is instead of creating a whole sauce, you take this, essentially, you're making a butter sauce on top of a protein. So say you have this perfectly grilled steak, okay? And then you throw a dab of an roasted garlic herb butter with a little bit of lemon zest right on top of that. That butter melts, okay? It becomes part of the sauce. It is exquisite. Or you want to go sweet. I saw somebody talking about honey, cinnamon, right? You want to add that to your fried chicken and honey waffles. Hello, I think that could work. The sky's the limit. So I'm going to pull up the recipe for the butter so we can go over this. Does anybody have any questions about the wildness that we're about to experience, which is making fresh butter? All right, here we go. So again, very few ingredients, but multiple steps. All right. So high fat content, you just want to make sure you're not getting like a reduced fat heavy cream. All right. That's just essentially go 30% and up is what we're looking for. All right. That's when it was going to be your general heavy cream or heavy whipping cream. They're going to be called both of those things sometimes. Don't worry. They're the same. Make sure you're putting that ice water in so it gets nice and cold. The cold water is going to help that fat separate, because what do we know about cold and fat? When you put that stock into the fridge, what happens to that stock? The fat rises to the top, separates, right? So that cold water is going to help pull that fat out more. All right. definitely food processor or a stand mixer. All right. You can do it also in a bowl with a hand mixer. Just might take a little bit longer. Who has actually ever accidentally over whipped when you are trying to make whipped cream? I know I have. I was making whipped cream once. Yep, Chef Greg has too. I was making whipped cream once for service, and I over whipped it. I let that sucker go, and whoops, little fat globules started to form. Yes, I see we've got a hand raised. 1 second. Oh, did the hand go away? Gone. All right. If you come back, come on back. So
I've done it by hand before.
I've done it by hand as well, Chef.
Whipped cream, and then just whip it straight into butter because you're talking, you're trying to do it so fast. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely done it by hand before.
Exactly. So you can literally over whip butter by hand. So even if you don't have a machine, you can do it. Okay. That's for sure. Both Chef and I have. I've done it by machine and by hand. And you end up getting butter. Okay. You're going to see these little fat globules start to poke in through the cream. And then you know that you've passed whipped cream stage and you're on to making butter. Because it has to transform. Okay, so back to the recipe. And boom, all right, you're gonna watch it thicken. It's gonna start to separate, okay? Now, what's important, all right? Then we're here at step 4. You're gonna put in that ice cold water. It's gonna keep that going away, right? Pulling it away. And what do we get? We get buttermilk. So that is a byproduct. A byproduct of making butter is buttermilk. What do we know most important about this class? What do we do?
Everything if you can.
What's that?
Be sustainable with everything you have. Reuse. Anything that you can use again.
Yes, exactly it, right? So that buttermilk, do not throw that away. Put it in another container, label and date it, put it in the fridge. Save it for buttermilk pancakes. Save it for marinating your meat in. Save it for something, right? You want to make some awesome fried chicken, marinating that in some buttermilk. Add that to your pancakes. Add it to a bread.
I actually planned on taking the half-gallon jug I got of milk, sterilizing that, and putting the buttermilk back into there. So I'm reusing the container as well.
There you go. Yeah, perfect. All right. So you're going to want to make sure you strain out all that liquid, okay? That's what you want to do. Get all that liquid out, get that fat out, all right? Squeeze it out, and then you're going to start to beat it. So this is where it gets different. You're going to use a paddle attachment, okay? Again, now if you don't have a paddle attachment, you can beat that by hand as well. You're going to want to get it nice and smooth. You're going to add a little, it's going to warm up a bit. So if you make this in 2 parts, okay, if you made the butter, you're going to have to put that in the fridge, let it chill completely, then take it out the next day, bring it up to room temp, okay, and whip it, all right? You're going to want to get this nice and soft because then you're going to incorporate the lemon juice, the fresh parsley, and the salt and white pepper. Hey, you can throw in black pepper if you don't have it, all right? And then you are going to roll this up in this, once it's all evenly incorporated, all those herbs and spices are distributed, then you roll it into a log shape, tighten the 2 ends, okay? Label it, put it in the fridge, let it get firm, or in the freezer. Then here's the cool thing. To serve it, slice in 1/4-inch thicks, all right? Slices, place on top of grilled or broiled items. Here's a heads up, if you want to use this for part of your next week's assignment, go ahead, go for it. All right, you're gonna be cooking an appetizer and an entree. And if you wanna use the compound butter as part of that dish, all for it, okay? You don't have to, it's just an option. Now.
I just want to add something, Chef.
Yes, Chef, please.
Chef was just doing the motion. When you wrap something in saran wrap or paper and you want it to be nice and even, you use separate motions. Don't do the same way. do one hand going forward, one hand going back, and it'll create an even tube, and it'll be all the same.
Exactly. It actually, it's crazy how quickly and easily it twists up. You do that same thing for making roulades, and a lot of other tube-shaped ingredients. Maybe you wanted to make, you know, a cheese log. Again, you're going to put that cheese in, and you're take it, and you're going to wrap it, twist those ends. Okay. So again, remember taking a look back at that recipe. Remember, recipes are always guidelines. All right. So maybe it takes less depending upon how powerful your processor is. Maybe it takes more. All right. We've had some students saying it took a lot longer. Maybe their whip wasn't hard as strong. Some people it took 2 minutes. All right. So just be observant. It's about observing your product and seeing how it changes and being in control. All right. Knowing when. All right. Just by watching. Cool. Seems like there's a lot of fun comments in the chat about enjoying butter, compound butter. So now you're gonna know how to make it, right? And again, that list is, once you know Burr Maitre D, the classic one, you can expand on that and learn a ton of other and play with your flavorings. Buttermilk is good for drinking, by the way. So let's hop on to fresh cheese. Who knows anything about cheese? Anybody know anything about cheese?
I don't know a lot about cheese, but I know what I like. I like the good smoked Gouda, as well as I loved aged cheddar.
All right, great. So we've got a lot of people loving cheese, right? As you'll see, this week's research materials cover all about the cheese. Tons of different cheeses, from aged cheddar to blue cheese, Stilton, Gorgonzola, Gouda, which is smoked, Swiss cheese, which has holes, okay, Mimolette, goat cheese, right? So there's going to be cheeses from different types of animals as well. One thing that has really taken off in the farm to table movement as well is local dairies, right? They are taking their loved animals, they're making good milk, and they're making cheeses that are taking around awards. Actually, California kind of put, we think of France as the end all be all of cheese, right? But California, with a really similar terroir landscape to part of France, has taken the lead in actually a lot of world competitions, actually, knocking off French, you know, the French for making some of the best cheese, which is pretty impressive. So some of the components go into cheese. It's not just that milk, right? We're gonna be taking milk and we're gonna be adding an acid to it. Okay, it's gonna separate. Who remembers this poem of little Miss Tuffet sat on her muffet eating her curds and whey, right? Okay, eating curds and whey. So again, these stories go back in time, churning your own butter, making your own cheese, making your own yogurts. The biggest difference that we're going to be doing is we're making a fresh cheese as opposed to an aged cheese. All right, we're not going to be adding animal rennet or any other rennet adding to cheese. If you want to get hardcore into cheese, there's a ton to learn. You can buy different microbial packets and rennet to add flavor. Then you can age it in the proper temperature. You can really do a lot. You can brine it, right? A lot of cheeses that are aged are brined. Why do we think they have that hard outer shell, right? Those have been aged. So there are a lot of processes and treatments that go on to cheese after the basics have been made, which are curds and whey. So I'm gonna pull up the recipe so we can see what we're gonna be doing. And then we've got some cool videos for you. So here we go. Again, all we need are 2 ingredients, milk and white wine vinegar. You can use, you can make it with lemon, although I think it slightly alters the flavor profile, but the acidity level, the acid will do the trick. So some other key points here. Stainless steel pot, all right? Make sure that is. Heat on medium, low simmer. right? You do not want to boil this. If you boil it, no bueno, all right? Don't want to scorch that milk, and then slowly pour in the beginner. Almost immediately, right? You're going to agitate it, you're going to stir it, and you're going to see this separation happen. It's science. Adding this acid, right, into a basic, right, ingredient. Separation is going to happen, okay? Once those start to separate, it's going to be very clear. Again, save that reserved liquid. That is called whey. The whey is what's left. Whey protein. Who's heard of whey protein? Has anybody heard of whey protein before? They're in all the shakes, right? The protein stuff. So whey, full of protein. Curds, they've got fat. And they also have some protein, all right? And other structure as well. So line that colander with cheesecloth. Again, pour that out, press on it, get all that juice out, okay? Squeeze it until you get all the whey out. Save the whey. You can also use the whey in cooking and other applications. You can drink it, okay? It's gonna be a little acidic, but you can figure out something to do with it, all right? Now, this cheese is quite bland. Who's ever heard of or ever tried farmer's cheese before? Does anybody? I'm going to give you a visual so you can see what you're heading for. This is going to be, you know, some of this is similar to what you will see. All right. Soft, light curds. Okay. That's not what we wanted. Soft white curds, right? When you squeeze it in the cheesecloth, as you can see here, that's the cheesecloth. This one's been set, right? It even has those little wrinkle marks from where the cheesecloth was. They might have hung that to dry a little bit to let it sit, okay? That's how that developed. And even more of that liquid, that whey seeped out. But really, you're just gonna end up with this, okay? Farmer's cheese, also known as tvorog in Russian, commonly eaten and used as, again, this is really mild. It's gonna be, it's like milk, right? It's really soft. So if you wanna have some fun with it, right? If you wanna do something after this state, you could throw it on a salad. You could turn it into another recipe where farmer's cheese is called for. You could put it into a lasagna. You could make a thing called sirniki, which are Russian cheese pancakes. All right, look at this. You take that, right? Really quite simple. You're taking those and you mix it with a little flour. Okay, look it up if you're into this. This is a secondary byproduct that you could make out of farmer's cheese. But otherwise, mix it with another great way to use it. Take some good olive oil. Once you've got that dry farmer's cheese, mix it with olive oil, some herbs, a little garlic. Now you've got a great spread on a nice piece of toast, okay? Or go sweet with it, right? Throw in some preserves. Really endless. Remember, it's neutral. It's a neutral milk product. It's not going to be sharp like cheese, like an aged cheddar. It's going to be very mild. It's really incredible to go through this process. Does anybody have any questions so far on this? I see. Okay, yeah, cool. Thanks, Chef. I'm just gonna bring it up in case anybody else says this. If you can't find cheesecloth, one thing, if you've got a Walmart nearby, they often have it fairly cheap, a few yards for not too expensive. Ask somebody there because it's usually hidden somewhere. Otherwise, just a regular old clean tea cloth, right? A thin one that you're using for drying dishes or something like that. Clean in the kitchen, buy a new one, dedicate it to just making cheese. That's what I did when I didn't have one as well. I see Sandra has already tried this and it was bland. Yes, it is 100% bland as we've said. So the way to amp that up is finish that product and then transform it. Turn it into something fantastic. Turn it into spanakopita. Transform it. Add it as an ingredient in a salad. lots of ways to enhance this cheese and play with it and have fun with it. Does anybody have any questions about the process of it? No? Okay, that's great. Well then, Chef, did you have anything that you want to add? I'm going to pull up a few photos of some other types of cheese that I wanted to share with the class.
I did actually make farmer's cheese the other day. I made towag, which is Polish for farmer's cheese, and then I busted out about 50 pierogies, which I sent Chef Catherine a picture of. So I definitely had done the same assignment this week. They turned out really good, but farmer's cheese is something that is a little bit bland, but it's supposed to be. It's just a base cheese. And then just like Chef was talking about, you can put it into ingredients. You can change the flavor afterwards, but it's just like a base recipe like anything else, and then you change that. But it is really interesting seeing the process. It's just a couple of ingredients. You add heat, you add acidity, and then it just separates. It's definitely a very interesting process. But I believe it was Sandra did ask, Chef just covered it. Can't find cheesecloth, sorry. Just a really clean towel. Don't use a coffee filter if that's going to be a question, because it's just going to break. It's not going to take the actual squeezing part. Same thing with a paper towel. You just need something with enough dexterity that you can put a little muscle into it just to take the water out. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Chef. So yeah, I mean, a perfect example of how you're taking this one cheese and transforming it and using it in another application. Leslie, I see your hand up. Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So what is the time frame of this process?
For making cheese?
Mm-hmm.
Cheese is not going to take you really too long at all. Once you warm that milk up and add your acid, curds and whey are going to start to separate.
Okay.
So that's going to happen almost instantly. You know, once you get the milk up to temp, you're adding your acid. In 5 minutes, you're gonna see
Something.
Oh yeah, basically your whey is cloudy. It's going to be a little bit yellowish. Okay, there might be a tinge of yellow to it depending upon your milk source, and it's cloudy. All right, and then the curds are these white chunks. So let me pull up and see if I can find something else. I was going to show you a little something about mozzarella, but let me see if I can get a quick visual on this. One second. Let me see.
Mozzarella video is good. It's very interesting how you make mozzarella by hand. Yeah.
Yeah. So mozzarella. All right. Everybody thinks it's really this amazing thing, and it is. Okay. But before I get into that, mozzarella is quite easy to make once you know the trick. I'm going to show you a video on it. But I've got a great image of curds and whey, so you know what this critical step looks like. Let me just pull it up for everybody to see. All right, so here we go. This is what you're going to see happen. See how it's like a clear, cloudy, yellowish liquid? It's going to separate. Excuse me. This is also perfect. This is once it's been strained, okay? That golden whey liquid is what's reserved, and all that fat, okay, and deliciousness also is right there in the cheese. You can see separated. Okay, again, another visual clear. So you're going to see that happen. And as long as your milk is up to that nice warm, just simmering, and you add that acid, the process is going to happen. It's very simple. There's another one. And then you're just going to strain that off and separate it. And then actually that's when you would let it wait, little hang out, dry, and then you can start making other items with it, dishes with it. Does that help?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great. All right, let me pull up this mozzarella video really quickly. let's do this one. One sec. Sorry. So this one's kind of fun. It's kind of cool. This is a family, right? So again, traditions, keeping a craft alive. Oftentimes people have mentioned, oh, my grandma or my grandfather, I know Sandra, father or grandfather was making butter, shaking it up in a jar by hand, right? Other people have been making jams or pickles or preserves. All these things go back. So it's far more than just learning a technique. It's learning about history, which is really powerful and important. And you think about how these basic cheeses, forms of dairy were used and how they were applied into cuisine and how they transformed cuisine. All right, how the French were leading the cuisine in French cheeses, cave aged, what they were doing to it. How does that go into their cuisine, right? By the way, if you want to do some research, check out what pre-grated Parmesan cheese was found to have components of not too long ago. All right, if you're going to buy Parmesan cheese and you can do it, get a nub of it, get the fresh. Don't get pre-grated. That flavor's not there. You've got other ingredients that are getting added to it that just is not real Parmesan cheese. It's great. It fits the bill. It fits the niche, right? You got a pizza joint. You're going to buy that pre-grated Parmesan cheese and it has its spot. But digging deeper into Parmesan and digging deeper into these cheeses, right? Parmesan has umami. So umami, that fifth taste, right? Parmesan, if you need to add something to a vegetarian dish, right? How are you going to get that umami? Parmesan cheese, mushrooms, okay? That hits that meat like umami, gives that robust, full feeling. Cheese offers that. So it's a tradition. So here we go. Let's see this really quickly. I'm gonna just expand this. And again, this is just a family who's been doing this in New York forever. I'm gonna fast forward through part of it. But this is pretty cool.
On Arthur Avenue, also known as New York City's real Little Italy, you'll find the appropriately nicknamed King of Mozzarella, who, accompanied by his son, churns out the best mozzarella and Italian deli sandwiches this side of the Atlantic.
Been coming here for about 20 years, and it's the best Italian food on Arthur Avenue. Best mozzarella I've had. You can go across the country, you can go across the world. There's not better mozzarella than this place.
Every single which the hanging deli meats, and of course, lots and lots of mozzarella, which the owner and his son make from scratch every single day. With countless awards and media coverage, Orazio Carciotto and his son Carlo are now local celebrities. But they didn't start out that way.
The story just is incredible if you think about it. I call it the American success story, the American dream. He came here from Sicily. He was about 27 years old. My mother said, if you want to marry me, you have to move to this country. He came here with no English, and slowly and surely, he built his name through sacrifice, through hard work, sweat.
No, I did it little by little, and nobody. And I can say in front of God, nobody helped him or nothing. Nobody give me one penny. So they make you feel proud. Not even proud of myself.
Yeah.
In the first years after he moved to America, Orazio worked odd jobs, ultimately in Casa della Mozzarella in 1993. And the family's success has skyrocketed since then, thanks mostly to the fact that their mozzarella is really, really good.
If you want to put it, classify yourself for mozzarella, man, you have to know everything about mozzarella. Start it from the beginning.
To me, mozzarella is like art. I find food is art, of course, in general. But for me, we started with a blank canvas, as you saw. We started from just a box of curd, and then we blended it. we mold it, and then we just form different things. And as you see throughout the process, we'll form different shapes. We'll do bocconcini as we're doing right now, knotting it. We'll do mozzarella. We'll stuff things with prosciutto or your typical famous burrata that's been so famous. It's so simple, but yet it's not.
One of the reasons they're so successful is pure dedication. In the early days, Orazio made everything himself, working non-stop to ensure his products were of consistent quality. Now that Carlo is around, he's finally able to take a small step back. How's it looking? Is he doing a good job?
Very good.
I learned from the best, I guess. I don't know if I surpassed them yet. We'll see in a couple of years. Now remember when I said that to me mozzarella is an art, because look how we just started. We started with a canvas of curd, and now we have a finished product.
While everything starts out the same, the finished product could be one of several things.
Prosciutto mozzarella, scamozza, bocconcini, burrata, and last but not least, the Triscio fior di latte mozzarella. And here at Casa Mozzarella, we have a motto that goes like this. It's just different. Just different. That's why I say it's just different. We want to keep it just different. It's just different. Make sure you remember that.
Obviously, we had to put it to the test.
One, two, three.
I've got another one that I'm going to share with you all. It's in Italian, but I'll send it out in a message. Essentially what you're doing is taking those curds, right? Again, curds, okay? Adding hot, warm, correct temperature water and making this malleable, soft, textured mozzarella, which has now, as in the film, you should see burrata, fior di latte, all of these other things that are making a comeback. Mozzarella cheese is now made pretty much everywhere. But if you think about the mozzarella cheese that we're familiar with, right, that we grew up, I know I certainly grew up eating the mozzarella cheese in the block, right, shredded on top of pizza, totally different, completely different, all right? So cheese making, it's an art craft. It's a deep passion. It takes a lot of time. It's something that's passed down from generation to generation. Does anybody have any questions? No? All right. Well then, okay, class. If you do have any questions, please do reach out. I will be sending out an Italian video that you'll see the process of mozzarella making in a larger scale, as well as some information about Parmesan cheese. All right. Chef Greg, anything else to talk about?
No. I think we're all set. Those guys were tearing out some mozzarella, though.
Certainly were.
That was fast.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, though, you literally can make mozzarella. All right. All you have to do is go purchase curds and you can make mozzarella in your own home. Okay. That's what I'm telling you. That's what Chef and I, Greg, are here to tell you, is that anything that you want to learn how to make, you can learn how to make that originally and in-house. Okay. Whether it's making your own cheese, curing your own, making your own jerky, right? Beef jerky, curing your own product, making your own sausage, making your own jabs, confits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The list doesn't stop. So keep pushing yourself, keep exploring, and keep getting down to the root of the source and understanding how a product is made. All right. It's going to give you a deeper understanding and level of how much work goes into a finished product. All right. Cool. And cheese is delicious. So get out there, eat some, and enjoy the compound butter and cheese. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everybody.